Welcome back. You're watching the Power Breakfast show. Now, this morning, we want to continue with that conversation on information communications and technology. And in studio, we're joined by the Cabinet Secretary for Information, Communications and Technology, Mr. Mucheru. A very good morning to you, and thank you for coming. And Willis Raburu on this other end has quite a number of people. Tell us what's going on.
All right, so these are people drawn from different fields, and those who are interested in IT, those who are innovators themselves, both young and old, and curious Kenyans, let's call them, who have questions relating to the field of ICT, and they'll be posing those questions to you, Ashura, and also just joining in the conversation, even if it's not a question, just giving their views on the same. And also we invite your views. The hashtag to use on Twitter is #PowerBreakfast, and the SMS number is 22422. Yeah.
Raburu said you're old.
Yeah, I said young and old.
Old?
We're the old ones.
Oh, you're the young.
I'm the old one.
Oh, you're the old one.
I'm the old one. I meant to say experience.
Experience. Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's get into it. And before we, get these guys to start asking you questions, the first question is: you've come from the private world, private corporate society, and now you're in government. How's that transition been for you?
It's been an interesting transition. There are a few things I have learned. For instance, there is this myth that in government you can hang your jacket and go maybe play golf or do something else. That's not true.
It's not true.
We work, I think it's like 24 hours. It doesn't stop. You're a civil servant and servant of the people. And I've seen that people work extremely hard. But most of the work done is not necessarily seen.
Okay.
There's, similar cultures in terms of, if, Google, big, a lot of money, but you still had to sell to specific people if you wanted to do a specific project. And it's exactly the same thing in government, only that it's institutionalized. You've got very specific rules. You have to write this letter to this person who goes to there. At Google, yeah, you'll probably do it on chat, but still you have to sell, and it just takes a bit longer. I think the commitment of people to make a difference is there. We have very, very intelligent people in government. And when they use the intelligence to do great things, I think you see great impact. Sometimes if they don't, then you also see other impact. But generally, yeah, it's been interesting, and I think it's something that everyone should aspire to do. To go into government and learn. It's just another world.
Let's talk about impact. You just said that you could either make a big positive impact or a negative impact. We've seen what corruption has done in our country. And, it's in the news every single day, having a negative impact. But you were quoted last year saying that the ICT world is one that would be able to tame corruption in Kenya. Exactly how would we go about it?
First thing is, corruption is about things being opaque. You have deals, no one knows you had these deals and so on. Technology allows things to be done in the open. So today you can use systems to know what is the cheapest pen or the average price of a pen in the country. So long as you've published that, anyone else trying to buy a pen for 10 times that, the technology can flag that and show. So the plan is we want to make sure we introduce technology, put all the infrastructure in place to ensure that everybody in their work, in the things that they do, things will be transparent and open. And yes, right now we're saying that there's a lot of corruption and so on. My view when I look at what's going on is that there's a lot more exposure on things that have been going on for a long time. I was trying to assess when the former president came into power, Kibaki, in around 2002. The national budget was about 200 billion. This year we are talking of almost 1.8 trillion. Not very much has changed, but we're saying that we've now been able from taxes to raise almost a trillion shillings. Where did they come from? Where did the money before that, the 30 years before, where was that trillion going? We may be saying right now that corruption is really bad and so on, and I'm not saying that there isn't corruption, but I'm saying the scale of it has significantly reduced, but we have a lot more information, a lot more transparency. This whole NYS saga that's been going on, it's because of the transparency of the IFMI systems that, we have information. You can't say where those trillions were going in all those 20 years before. How do you even trace
so now
it? So technology is allowing us to be able to show and bring this out.
Okay.
So maybe we won't talk too much about it, then corruption could fight back.
What about those who, of course, if you talk about anything IT, for the average Kenyan, they're thinking this system can be manipulated in some sort of way. We've heard of cases where maybe, like you said, 3 people have the password. How safe is that password? What is the backup for some of these things? What is your assurance to them, or what is happening?
All systems, like cars and so on, they're driven by people. So first, it's about people. Technology, you can have the latest and the best, but if the people using the technology are, one, not committed or not trained, then don't expect to see any good results. So you can have the best car. If it's the worst driver, you will see the accidents. So at this stage, we are combining both the technology itself and being able to train people. Training them as well as introducing new blood. In this next phase of the Presidential Digital Talent Program, we are recruiting about 400 now interns. Last year we did 100, and almost every ministry has refused with those interns. You tell them, can you bring them, we want to use them somewhere else. They say, no, here are some other guys. You take this one. Go ahead. These ones we want to keep. So we want to increase that. So we're combining both the technology and actually the people, and then the regulations, and making sure we have the right regulations. So whether it's access to information, data protection, all this will allow us to be able to ensure what people are doing is traceable. We set up last week, or gave it more power, the Kenya CSAT, which is the Computer Incident Response Team, where we can actually go and do investigations, forensics, in case of, places where systems have been compromised. We can actually take charge of those. So there's quite a lot going on, but most of this, because it's technology, it's usually in the background, it's not as public, but we're very committed to making sure at least government is operating securely and efficiently. And then we can start providing services to the industries, to the citizens, to make sure that also, technology will allow us to move and start building big companies, big institutions that actually change people's lives. So other than having it, we want people to adopt it and now scale. Look at what M-Pesa has been able to achieve in terms of numbers, improving people's lives. That's what we want to do with technology in government. Okay, now we want to cross it over to you guys, and remember, you just pick up the mic and tell us your name, where you're from, and then you can pose a question to Mheshimiwa. So I hope I can also ask questions back. Yes, you can. Yes. Here it's all about interaction. Yes. Yeah. Who goes first? All right, so hand over the mic to her. Thanks. It's on.
Hi, my name is Mucheru, a Knight International Journalism Fellow with Code for Kenya. My question goes to what you mentioned about access to information, and you're saying the technology is being prepared behind the scenes. My concern is that if people have information, then they can make better decisions. So you do not have people making expenses or spending stuff which they shouldn't be spending without people knowing. My question is, what are you, or what do you intend to do to compel or to ensure that government ministries and departments actually collect and then share that information as they should with the public? I'll maybe give an answer from the Open Government project, which started maybe 5 years ago. I was at Google then, and we were asking, we want this information. And the government spent a lot of time, has digitized a lot of information and made it available. In fact, one of the key findings from that information was that as Kenya, on an annual basis, we import $1 billion shillings worth of sun-dried tomatoes from Spain. This is something that came out from the data that was being published. But, industry did not take that data up as much. The next thing they said is that they want that data real time. But even the data they hadn't started using. So we have to ensure that even as you ask for this data, there's a cost to making it available and collecting it and analyzing it. People need to begin to use it to build their businesses. That said, access to information bill and data protection bill are going to be key in ensuring that the information that citizens require, that is actually covered in the Constitution, is going to be made available. We will obviously not make personally identifiable information available, to just everyone. But generally, whatever information you need today, Central Bureau of Statistics has a lot of the statistics that people need. We're going to work hard to make sure it's as latest as possible. But you have to use the information. Industry has to leverage and grow with it. Today, I do not feel that industry is doing that.
All right.
Anybody else?
Okay. My name is Charlene Migwe. I'm ICT and M&E consultant. And my concern is we've created apps in the past and software solutions, but then we feel like ICT is the middle of all that entrepreneurial madness, and people just signing up for random tenders, and that's making it for people with companies like mine as a young person hard for them to penetrate the market. So are there any policies in place, or what's the strategy for the ICT industry to make it a level playing field for other companies and reduce the corruption in that field?
It's a good question, but it doesn't have a straight answer, because if you have a huge project, let's take like the security project that we want to have, will Kenyans allow you to experiment with someone who's just trying for the first time to do something? You want to have technology that is tested, tried, latest, that is being secure, to ensure that you're providing the right security for the country. So the businesses that are just starting won't necessarily win such contracts. But we have policies where we are saying these companies that are going to win such contracts must have youth involved, must have local companies involved. If you look at the laptops project, what we're calling the digital learning program, we've not only had the manufacturers come in, but we insisted they must have a local component where you're going to have local manufacturing. So they partnered with universities. They've ensured that at least after this round, all next round, you'll have local manufacturing. And this manufacturing will actually affect almost every county. There'll be jobs created in those areas. The key thing is the businesses need to be looking at how to scale and how to offer the real products. The rules that we use for procurement in government are actually set up even in parliament. It's a very clear process on how government has to procure. Sometimes we use local businesses, and the first thing they do once they get the contract is they go to an international business and say, okay, I have this contract, let's work. The tenderpreneurs. So you end up being again vendor driven. You wanted it to be for the young, for the local businesses, but they get it and they immediately pass it over. So what do? Do you go directly to these guys? It's an area where start scaling your businesses, start getting more involved in government. The Presidential Digital Talent Program interns, they're coming to learn a lot about government. They are getting involved, they see how government systems work, and they're being absorbed. Already we've lost about 25 of them into private sector. I say lost as government, but for the country it's a gain. We have 25 people, or 25 companies now that fully understand the workings of government and how they can actually get in and win and provide some of the services. So there's work going on, but it's not a clear cut. It has to be a local company and so on.
Perhaps also if you just explain what that is for those who maybe don't understand. What is that talent system and how can somebody get involved?
Yeah, so at the moment we're recruiting about 400, they're called interns. So what you do, if you go to the ICTA.go.ke website, you will see their call for the interns. The interns come into government. We have a mentorship program where they visit various different government departments, and we have partnerships with the top ICT companies, both local and foreign. IBM's, Microsoft, Oracle, Google, all these companies, 7 Seas Technologies and so on, have already partnered with the government, and they're providing the opportunities for these interns to go learn. So you find an intern that finishes at the end of the year has a lot of private sector training. They've gone to Cisco, they've been taught about all the Cisco infrastructure. They have all the information on Microsoft and many others. So by the time they're out, they not only have the technical skills, they also have the knowledge of how government itself works, how many of the private sector companies work. In the last recruitment, we were recruiting 100 people, we had 3,000 people apply. So we want to scale this even more because we're seeing the success of it. It will help many more people be able to understand the workings of government and ICT. And so I'm asking everyone, if you can, apply.
Before we go there, just give us a moment, and we want a gentleman to ask a question this time. There's something you brought up and said it reaches a point where will Kenyans be willing to trust a first-time company to do this big contract? My question is, does that mean then we'll do this cycle for another 10 years? Because you hear that we want you with 3 years of experience, but I was never given that chance. Do we see that changing at any particular time?
I think it's not necessarily about 3 years of experience. If you look at WhatsApp was sold for $22 billion after 5 years and 55 employees. Safaricom is $6 billion in valuation, thousands of employees and so on. That company was able to demonstrate value to people very, very fast. So it's not about the length of time. It's about showing the experience that you've been able to provide maybe X service to people. And this is how it's working. You could have done that even in 6 months. And demonstrated. Look at M-Copper. They've been able to demonstrate that they can scale. They have over 200,000 people they're providing solar systems to. So you can't say they're not experienced. They don't have to have 10 years of experience. They're showing that they've actually been able to deliver quality product, service. So that's what I'm saying. Not time-wise.
Not time-wise,
it's
the
the actual experience, the value. And yeah, you can show you can do it. You can scale.
Yeah. All right. Let's come to you because you had your hand up.
Good morning. Thank you very much for coming and talking to us entrepreneurs. Very quick question. I work for a company called Branch. We are a technology startup founded in Silicon Valley, and we provide loans on Android devices. So anyone watching this show right now can download an app, apply for a loan, and get a loan within 10-15 seconds. My question to you, Mr. Cabinet Secretary, is for startups like ourselves, others, M-Copa, Uber, coming to Kenya and making Kenya their home, what is the strategy for you to make it easy for us to do business? So Kenya is ranked, I think, 130th on ease of business globally. What can you do to get in the top 10 and make it easy for companies like us to launch our products and bring more technology startups to this great country? Thank you.
So ease of doing business is not only for the international businesses, it's also for the local businesses. Aligning the, I would say, the regulations as well as the tax regimes to make sure that they are harmonized. We're going through a process of devolution. So you've got not only the national government and the rules that you have that, you also have the county governments as well. We've actually improved. I think last year, or the last time the World Bank worked on this, we moved almost 6 places. It's one of the objectives of this government to make sure it's easier and easier for people. So there's a lot of effort being done. But if you see in terms of our regulations and in terms of the way we've opened up our market, first, you were able to come and set up in Kenya without a lot of difficulty. We didn't ask that you have to have local partners, you have to have all these things. Only in very specific areas do you have those kind of limitations. You were able to open bank accounts. We've made it a lot easier. You're able to get services from the different operators or service providers without necessarily being discriminated against. You've seen that the government has come and even protected companies like Uber in the market. Yes, there's been issues with the local businesses, but we want to see growth, we want to see the investment come in, but both local and international. So there's goodwill, and as we improve our efficiencies in government, I think it's going to become easier and easier for everyone to come and actually do business. We've seen with our technologies that now even revenue collection or payments, you know, your business would not exist today if you didn't have, for instance, the M-Pesa systems which you're using today. Because of mobile money, which again, if you look at the way the regulations were structured, it should not have been allowed in the first place. But the government was willing to say, hey, let's try this, it looks interesting, it could work. And so we are taking that same mode in terms of the different services. I don't believe your business requires a license. In terms of lending money, you do require a business license, but in terms of lending money, you don't require a license yet. So from that perspective, it's already easy to do the business.
That's correct. Can I ask one follow-up? So, for example, you're 100% right, and we commend you for the great work you've done to make Kenya a great destination for tech startups. One of the small things, just as an example, is a company our size still requires to do a financial audit in their first year of business. In London, they don't. Silicon Valley, they don't. So that's one of the small kind of tiny examples in the detail that can be improved upon for startups to launch even faster.
Is there a reason you would not want to have an audit? I would want to know how my business is doing. I would want to have issues. I would want my shareholders to know. One of the things that I want to see happen is I want companies to start listing. I want companies to start, you know, if you look at many of these businesses that have grown in Silicon Valley, they listed, they allowed the citizens to be able to buy stock, and citizens participated in the growth of those companies. If you're not listed, sorry, if you're not audited, when it comes to listing, people will be asking, so is your business genuine? Is this? just get audited. It's not expensive. It will help you be able to understand where your business is, and then you'll be able to list quicker and build value for everybody, because we want you to list businesses.
Right. I have just one question from social media, then we'll come back to you. So one, Simon here says it's a totally different that he's talking about at Car Simon. He's asking about what is your take about the 3Gs and the 4Gs, and he's worried. He's saying, could we be buying obsolete technology in using 3G and 4G, yet people are already talking about 5G? Because his worry is about bundles, I'm sure.
I think you should not be worried, in the sense that, first of all, government regulates. We don't buy the technology, and right now our regulations are technology neutral. 4G is, LTE, that's the spectrum that is being made available. The operators are the ones that go and invest in this technology. If you look at Airtel, Safaricom, Orange, they are investing in these technologies. They want to make sure that people have the right services. There is a competition, so they're going to invest in technology that will last a long time. So if they go and invest in old technology, they'll be overtaken very quickly. So I think we create an enabling environment so that there's competition, and whoever is not innovating will be left behind. So they have to invest in the latest.
Okay. Yeah. A lady now. A lady. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Beverly Mbeke from kuhustle.com. We are helping SMEs to outsource their jobs, therefore creating employment, and that's why the presidential digital talent outsourcing is of much interest to me. I think, first of all, for the government, the capacity of around 3,000 interns is pretty less. Looking at some of the offices and some of the resources that government has, I think they can create more. What are some of the plans that you have in place to work with local solutions like us, who have a pool of interns and even people who can actually work on some of those government offices, to actually take them up and work with them to grow them to the level of IBM's and Microsoft? Because what you're seeing mostly is government taking up IBM's, Microsoft, but what happens to the middle level solutions like us, who already have the pool verified, and these are people who are actually skilled and can get experience from the government.
But just clarify, are you talking of the technology or the people?
The people.
Because we don't take IBM people.
No, the technology.
Sorry?
The technology in the
so yeah, so is it the technology you're talking about, or are you talking about the people?
Supply of the skilled. The government can actually take up more interns and skills to go into government offices.
Right.
So you mentioned that you're working with companies such as 7Seas, Microsoft, IBM.
They're providing mentorship and training to those interns. So we're not, they're the ones who are providing that, and it's a whole breadth of companies that are providing. So I'm saying the interns that come out of that are fully trained with all those skills.
What are the plans to create more capacity? Because I really think through the government you can create more partnerships, and even the government has capacity in itself to take up more than the 3,000 that you've mentioned.
It's a budget issue. We cannot, you may feel like we can take up more, but the government already right now is got a lot of employees. We need to make sure that we have the right skilled people. So we're training both people in the government and bringing in new people. But we cannot increase our budget. I think we're almost at 60%, just in terms of our recurrent expenditure. We need to be spending more money in development, not in just recurrent. So it's not it's simple to say that we can just hire more and more people. What we're doing right now is that we're creating demand both in government and in the county governments, where they see the need for a lot more of the ICT talent and skills, and so they're going to recruit more and more people and train more and more people. So that demand is coming, and it is happening as we speak. So many of these people, if you check a lot of the advertisements, there's requirements to, for people to have ICT. But more importantly, we are working to create an enabling environment where private sector, which is where we want to see a lot more growth, is actually going to be absorbing many of these people. They're going to have the skills, the talent, and the private sector that's going to now provide services to government is where you're going to see a lot more growth in jobs. And that is our plan. Make the government leaner and smaller. Let industry grow even more.
Okay. A gentleman now.
A gentleman, all right.
Hi, I'm Jamlik Maina, the CEO of Hisable. I wanted to talk more on the policy and regulation. There have been so much emergence of incubation centers in Kenya, but what you are saying is the what they are doing is not actually helping the youth in the end, because what they are getting is funding from outside, but it's not reaching the youth to help them. Is there any regulation that can be able to control what's happening out there?
So to regulate the incubators?
Yeah, themselves. Because
what would you want us to do in regulating them?
Okay, what are the pattern that is emerging is they are setting up incubation centers, then getting funding from outside, but that money is not reaching to the startups which actually need it. It's sort of a business where they just get money and they use it for themselves, but not helping the youth. Is there such regulation?
So I think what you're talking about is, these are private businesses, and we're not going to regulate what they do necessarily with their money. But the people giving the money definitely will have audits that will show that the money they gave, most of it wasn't spent with the objectives. Maybe the objective is that incubator is going to give people maybe the skills, not necessarily the money, to be able to scale their businesses. I would say our current challenge is that we have a lot of these incubators. I think in Africa now we've got over 800, and they're going to increase even more. And they are creating a lot of startups, but those startups don't then grow and then scale, because there's almost no exit for these businesses. The people have skills, they come up with an app, then they hope that that app is going to be the next Airbnb or the next Uber, but they're not actually taking the business to that next stage. So these incubators should move away from just introducing new businesses and incubating ideas to now growing those businesses so that they are larger, and then allow people to start investing in those businesses, start listing those businesses, so that then you can see more growth. But I don't think we'll regulate how the money they've been given, how they're going to spend, because government doesn't have the capacity or capability of managing private people's money, because that's not government money.
Okay, and before we come back to you, do you have any questions for them?
I think, what is it that we can do as government to get your businesses to grow bigger? Because your businesses need to grow bigger. When they grow bigger, they need more employees, they need more skills, and they'll create value. But right now, I feel that we're stuck in small businesses, and so long as it can pay your bills and you can buy a plot here and there, guys seem very comfortable. They're not listening. Scale these businesses. Let's.
Okay, so I'd like to hear from you, and then you, right? And then you in the orange, the jumper.
Okay, my name is Leila Khalif. I'm the founder and CEO of Taskwetu, and what we do is we enable Kenyans to get their daily errands done through vetted and reliable errand runners. So one of the challenges that we faced is that when we are raising money from investors, we always look outside. Because when you look at local investors, what they put into your company is what they put in, they'll ask for much larger shares. The next person that you look up to is the government. So one of the problems that we have is we don't get much support from the government when it comes to funding. I know that you've raised about $1.2 million to support tech startups in Kenya, but that only served about 30 startups. So what are you
and where are those 30 startups?
You tell me.
That's exactly the point. They have not scaled, they've not done the difference that we want. Yeah. So why would you keep giving money if you're not seeing the change? Let's start seeing examples of businesses that received money. They grew, they listed, they created so much more value. At the moment, we're not seeing that. So the issue is not actually the funding, it's the scaling, because money is available.
Yeah.
When I was in private sector, I would meet investors almost on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
Someone has $100 million, they come and they say, look, I want to invest in Kenya. They cannot find an investment for $10 million because the businesses are either will hold the value to ourselves and maybe we'll give you 0.1%. It doesn't work. Let's scale.
I understand that, but the thing is, before you reach the stage where you can start scaling, you need to validate your solution. Is the solution working? And for you to be able to do that, you need to be able to reach to your customers. How do you reach your customers? You need to do some marketing and advertising. Where will you get the funding to do that? So even seed stage funding, where is the access to that? We have to look outside for us to raise that amount.
Not necessarily. I invested in local businesses myself, and in fact we sold that business or some of those businesses. There's a lot of local investors that are willing to invest in businesses, but you have to have your business plan in place. People understand where you're going to create value, how you're going to scale that business, and then how they're going to exit. In many cases, the businesses that you're proposing are going to provide less than if someone bought a plot. So why would somebody then invest in your business if they bought a plot which is not going to go anywhere? It's just going to appreciate in value. They'll make more money. So at this stage, you have to make sure that your idea shows how you're going to actually build more value. The business I had invested in, over 3 years, I got 19 times the money I invested back, and we sold that company to a South African company. They came and bought it 19 times. There's no piece of land that gave me 19 times in 3 years. So guys will invest. But at this stage, people are coming and saying, we think we will make money. We may make money. You're not giving the investor confidence. Now the guys from overseas don't necessarily understand the market in the same way. So they've actually invested a lot of money, but many of them will tell you they haven't seen the returns. So they're not necessarily coming back and investing more and more. But doesn't then mean that government should actually now go and give people money. Look at the youth fund, and you know, some of the issues we've had in being able to give money, but you're not seeing even people giving back. That money was to be given to youth. They do their business, they repay. Not all of them are repaying, so it creates a lot of problems. So the thing is this: don't rely on government. I don't think government is the one that's going to help you with your business and your idea. Government will create an enabling environment. Once you have that environment, the investor will come and know tomorrow we're not going to nationalize that business because you're going to make it large, but you're going to be able to grow value in your business. We will protect it, we will allow you to list, we will allow you to expand. When you're listing, we give you even tax advantages so that you're able to even scale and grow more. So if your business idea is real and it is showing value, I can get you in touch with some of these local investors if you're looking for local investors, even without government. You know, government, that's taxpayers' money. Let's use it for roads and other
things. Okay, so the two of you, I hope it's solutions to what he had urged earlier, and then we'll come back to the people who have not spoken. There are those two gentlemen with their questions, as time is coming to an end. But we'll start with you. Tell us who you are and where you're from.
My name is Meshak. I'm CEO and founder of Sendi. We are a marketplace for logistics. We make it easy to move packages from point A to point B and bring transparency to the whole industry. Now, a company like us, we're basically tackling an industry that has been there for a long time. It's a bit traditional, and we're bringing in new business model, new cost structures, and we're basically going towards getting to a thin line between regulation and innovation, basically bringing these new business models in place. And I think what the government can do for us is basically help us wade through regulation such that we are actually regulated, but we also it's also not capping our innovation in terms of bringing this new business model that actually will bring down the cost of doing businesses for companies taking products from businesses to consumers. So I think that's an area.
So what regulation is limiting Sendi?
For instance, as a Sendi, someone will look at us as a courier company, and we are not. We're actually a marketplace. So the regulation actually requires me to have a license, and actually that caps the way I operate. Because for me, I work with small courier companies to basically create a marketplace and basically bring down the cost of logistics down and bring the whole transparency. So basically, those are the areas that we think. So
you're saying you don't think you should have a courier license?
We don't think we should have.
What should the other people who have courier licenses do? Because they already have. Posta has, DHL, and everybody else have those licenses.
Yes.
And those licenses protect them.
Yes.
So you're saying you don't want any protection. You don't want, as in anyone can come and operate just as you, and it's a free for all.
We work with these companies that already have licenses. So they have the small courier companies that already have licenses. So
why not get your own? What's the difficulty?
I mean, the new business model that we are bringing to basically bring these people, because what we're looking at is bringing high asset utilization for these small companies. So you have a company that has 5 trucks, you have another company that has 5 trucks. I mean, if they separately invest in marketing, they separately invest in infrastructure, that's very costly, and they push that cost back to the consumer. If we bring these companies together and basically they share these cost structures, and we basically make a margin off that and also bring the cost down, it actually makes sense for the entire ecosystem. So basically those are the things we're looking at. How do we involve us in discussing this and basically finding a middle ground that is fair.
So let me not cut you short, but let me tell you a secret. Having a license and being protected by government allows investors to trust you even more. Not having one and being vague doesn't give you that assurance. if you have a license and you even list, people have more assurance that you're following all the rules, you've got all the things that will work for your business. So the license isn't a punitive exercise. It's actually one that protects you and makes the business stronger and adds value to your business. And so at this stage, I don't feel that it is negative, and it's not prohibitive. It's not that you can't get it. And are you operating today?
Actually, we have a license, and
right.
I can actually tell you, for us to basically bring this value back to the consumers and bring in this cost, that license is actually capping us, because then working with all these companies become a problem, because then you are regulated basically how you operate with these companies. Whereas for us, is basically creating a platform on top of these small companies so that they can be more competitive and actually
and tomorrow someone else will come and create a business very similar to yours and they can make it worse, and then there's no regulation. That's why you need to have the structure. But let's talk with the regulator on that, because that's under my ministry.
We have to move on. So let's now come to him. We've taken quite a bit of time.
Hi, my name is Joshua Mucheru. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Keja Hunt. We help the low and middle income earners find houses without the hassle of using agents. So mine is probably just a comment to your earlier question on how you can help startups get to the next level. So we feel that currently, in the way currently what has been happening is raising money for the, say, in their seed stage is really easy. It's really easy to find angels. It's really easy to find, say, money below 20k USD to fund your startup. But then after you get that, then you prove value. Now to move on to the next level of, say, being able to raise like 100k USD, that is sort of a missing middle, whereby we are not able to get that financing to be able to take you to the next level, whereby investors will be interested in you at that point. Because right now, investors who come to most startups in Kenya find that they cannot invest, say, 100k USD, and that's, for most of them, that's the minimum that they want to invest. So we feel that there's that missing middle that probably, if addressed, we could have startup scaling faster.
So it's not necessarily a missing middle, it's a valuation problem. Because you've gone through the 20k process, now you value your business same as Uber or Google. And so the investor is saying, I mean, I can't come at that price, it's too high. You have to almost look at every time you're raising money. Each round, you have to create value that the next guys are happy with. Now, if your next one after 20k is 100k, but the value that now for you to move now so that company is double in value, you almost can't raise any money because you value the company so high, it makes it impossible for the right guys to invest. Today, I know a lot of investors who have money but are looking for the opportunities, but they say they're too expensive. Because now you've sort of validated your idea, but you've made it too expensive. So go to the GEMS market, list your company there. Maybe you will see what the real value of the business is. Use a convertible bond, or a structure where you can agree on what the price of the equity will be later. But at this stage, you see that there is mafununu, the business is working, and then you calculate Safaricom has 21 million subscribers and mine will scale this way, so the value is this.
So overvaluing ourselves is also a problem.
It's a problem.
Okay, let's come to you.
To you, and then
to that gentleman and that lady as we come to the end.
Okay.
And you.
Hi, my name is Lydia. I work for a company, it's called Systematica. And my concern is with the procurement process.
Government procurement process?
Yes.
Okay.
So far it's been working really well for us, but then there was a situation where we identified a problem with people from Kakamega trying to find out their loan status, and they have to travel all the way to the headquarters in Nairobi. We created a solution that would allow them to check their loan status from wherever, and then we proposed these prior to the loans board institution identifying they already had this problem, and then they put us on hold saying wait for the procurement process, but they do not even know that they have this problem. So what's your
have you had a single sourcing problem that you did not go through public procurement, you single source? You don't have that problem where guys have been told this is corruption because you picked that idea and you did not take it through public procurement. That's the issue. That even though you have found the best solution and you know it's this one, it is taxpayers' money. And taxpayers require that you go through a public procurement process where you have to go out and get all these gates coming in. It's only on very special cases, maybe security and so on, where they can actually do single source or sometimes government to government. But in this case, think about it. Someone else could create an idea and say, oh, by the way, there was X problem, and they sell it to X county, and it's done. And you come and say, well, who even knew there was that problem? So maybe you're doing something genuine, but Kenyans, we are extremely creative. They to come up with many interesting ideas, which are paid for, single source, and we have a problem. So that's why we have to go through public procurement.
Okay. Gentleman over there.
Thanks so much. My name is Henry Maina. I work with Article 19, Eastern Africa. I want to take you back to the issue of policy. You indicated the ministry is working on an access to information bill and data protection. This is a statement that looks clearly like what was said by a senator today in 2 or 3, meaning the discussion that the government is willing to pass that law has been there for the last 13 years. Are there any priority policy positions you're going to take to ensure that there is that delivery? But the reverse of that is that there are a number of laws that seem to run counter to the very philosophy of openness that you are espousing, including provisions, say, in the Kenya Information and Communication Act, for people misusing gadgets. And while the law might have had a very genuine thing to protect, we notice that now it's governors, it is provincial administrators that are misusing that provision. For anybody who wants to ask them a question like we're asking you now, they are framed up and being prosecuted under that section. So what are the policy measures you're going to take to realign these contradictory provisions of law, but also fast track the other 2 laws you've spoken about, given that in this region, in Africa, there are 17 countries that have access to information law. Kenya is not one of them. Our neighbors, Uganda, Ethiopia, South Sudan, have these laws. So are we really going to remain as competitive if Rwanda has that law and has fast-tracked a few things?
Those laws are in process. In fact, some have already gone through first reading in Parliament, the access to information. But the key thing is the Constitution requires that there has to be public participation in all these laws. So the first thing we're doing this week is we've got the national ICT policy being reviewed. A lot of these contradictions you're talking about also come in because technologies have really changed the way things operate, and therefore the convergence of different services have created ambiguity. And so from that perspective, we're reviewing not just the policy, eventually we'll review the Act, because they're old. The Act, is, although amended, is 1998. Policy is 2006. Those are over 10 years. So we are behind in making sure that we have the right, I would say, policies in place. But we are working very hard to make sure that they are in place. We need them as government if we're going to actually, first of all, become a digital government, have access to information, make sure it's available across the whole country. So that's ongoing. In terms of whether the law is being used by the government and so on, I think the reviews and the fact that you can still go to court to ensure that it is managed in the right way, those will be the checks that we have. But at this stage, public participation is what's delaying the process, but not saying that it's a problem.
Okay.
We have to have the participation.
We want you ask a question, I ask a question as we come to the end, and then Honorable will be able to respond to them.
My name is Mary Njuguna. I'm from Shimba Technologies. We develop mobile phone applications as well as web, and we're all about empowering the mobile device. This for SMEs as well as the masses. So my question is in regards to scaling. We've prepared the people. It's very good that we've mentored. We're mentoring. We have the skill. But have we prepared our consumers for innovators, for innovations? For instance, we've built several mobile applications that can be used by businesses. We have, for instance, an application called BuildFlow that makes it easy for the business person to track income as well as expenses. But what are we doing to prepare consumers for such products?
Okay. Thank you very much. And then you, sir?
Right. Hi, my name is David Lamayan. I'm from Code for Africa. And my question is in regard to building ecosystems. Transferring the skills, yes, is good at the internship level. But my question is, how are you putting in place policies, or what are you doing to put in place policies to fund research within universities? Because a big part of how Silicon Valley and the other major startups in different countries, in most developed nations, came from funding into universities, because you would then place in the skills and you'd put in the pressure for universities to update their curriculum to be able to give actual skills and to better, sort of the process of whatever degree or certificate you're receiving. So that's my question.
Great. So let me start with preparing consumers. I think that's a business's responsibility as opposed to government. Because, if you're going to build an application or a service, there hopefully should be demand from the consumers, because then that's how the business works. If there is no demand, then there is a mismatch. You haven't understood the problem that you're trying to solve. But in terms of being able to say, here is the product, here are the consumers, if you go to places like the iHub, there's a user research center that exists, where you can go and just find out, is this product the right product? What do people want with it? And then you get your marketing budget, get the right investments, and be able to scale that as a business. So we want the market to be competitive, and so the businesses have to come and compete. Some will succeed, some will not, but in the end, that's what you do with the business. I hope that answers you.
Let's go there, because time is not on our end.
I think you've seen Dr. Matiang'i, CS. Everywhere now, even fighting with the universities to make sure that the curriculum and infrastructure and where money is spent is actually being put in the right places. We have a lot of investment going into the TVET institutions to ensure that we're going to have not just random skills that people have that are theoretical, but you're going to have practical skills coming out. There's huge investment. In terms of government investment in education, it is a massive area, and it has continued to be. The DLP program, you've seen, we've partnered with universities because we want both the skills of manufacturing, of research, to ensuring we have the right devices is actually happening in those places. I was giving the PDTP, or the internship program, as the step-gap measure that we are working on right now. But we still need to see, as the universities grow, we need to see a lot of change. The reason why we're going even to Standard 1 pupils to provide the digital learning program is because we want our children to grow with technology at their fingertips, so that whenever they find a problem, they can immediately innovate, because problems is where you actually innovate from. You want to solve that problem, so you want them to have that as second nature. And so the investment is going in, it's about 34 billion that is actually going into just the laptops project, to make sure that, from that base, we have over 66,000 teachers who are going to be trained. All the schools, primary schools, are getting power. You've seen with the operators, they are also going to get broadband available. So there is a lot of investment in that space.
All right, we're coming to the end of the show. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. We want to hear your final words, sir, in regard to the conversation that we've had this morning, your final thoughts.
And also on a light note, I've seen two very light questions on Twitter. Somebody asked, of course, about your age and about your socks.
About my socks.
So as you wind up, you can also maybe touch on that as well.
So I can say first, I'm young. I'm only 48 years old. So I may not look it, and this is my take from Google. Now I had, after 190 and Google, I'd never thought I'd even be wearing a tie again. So I'm a techie who has to wear a suit and tie. I actually have 5 suits. Can you imagine? These are some of the new investments I made getting into government. So it's a challenging time for us as a country. But I would say it's one of the most opportunistic times in using technology. I had a meeting with the manufacturers, this week actually, and one of the challenges I gave to them is, you guys keep saying you want government support, which is what I'm telling you, that actually, as businesses, you don't actually, you want government out of the way. You want to go and do these things yourself, because you can build the business. Where there's a regulation that is creating a problem, let's discuss that and fix it. So I challenged them. And I said, look, come to me in 2 weeks, 3 weeks with just take your businesses, combine them together, whatever you're going to do, but $1 billion worth of business, let's list that. Tell me what you need for us to at least list that kind of business. We've actually seen the number of businesses listed at our NSE that are ICT based reduce. It's a ridiculous position to be in, as we see many more coming out. The value of listing your business is that, first of all, you get well known, you have the right structures actually put in your business. It's free marketing. People will now get to hear about what your business does and understand these things, and be able to not only support and buy your product, they can actually grow with you. If we're going to see Kenya grow, we need to see serious businesses come out. I give an example of Uber is not even listed yet, but they are worth $62.5 billion, their last private placement. If we actually build a business that is maybe even half that here in Kenya, and you have all Kenyans, invested in those businesses through the NSE, that business will scale and grow, and you're going to get many more. And if you made money in that ICT business, then you're going to go and invest in another one and another one. So at this stage, I want you guys to think beyond that business just being yours. It's a Kenyan business. Can you allow Kenyans to access that business and make it grow? Google never needed money, but they still listed. They still now grown. I mean, their valuation, I don't even want to talk about, is huge. So why don't we start that? Africa, we're not actually taking advantage of structures that are there to help our businesses grow.
Build and buy Kenya. That's my take home. Build and buy Kenya. I want to say thank you to all of you for coming this morning. It's been a very engaging conversation. Wish we had more time. Sadly, all good things have to come to an end. We also want to thank our viewers who are on Twitter and on the SMS platform. Thank you so much for those questions. Hopefully, they have all been answered. And we want to say thank you, sir, for coming, for making time to be with us this morning. It's been a long one, but I'm sure you have enjoyed yourself. On behalf of everyone who makes, Power Breakfast Show a success, I want to say thank you so much for joining us. It's been wonderful. It's been fun. Hoping that you've been informed, you've been educated, and of course entertained. I am Q&Ar, wishing you a fantastic Tuesday. Be kind to one another. Don't forget to smile.
Alright, Ramwe Sabura, as always, reminding you the successful people look like the people here, the CS, Kigo, myself, and of course the great Manchester United. Have a wonderful day.